I didn't expect you to tell that story. I would never have told her that. Any rate, why public space matters in 10 minutes. Pretty difficult to do. So I thought I would actually start at the beginning of how I got interested in the first place. It's about 1985. I finished my dissertation, and I'm in Costa Rica. I'm in San Jose, Costa Rica. That's where I was working. I'm a Latin Americanist. And I had decided that I wanted to understand the Latin American Plaza, why it's such an incredibly vital place in the role of Latin American culture, and why someone like myself from Los Angeles and from the suburbs had never seen a place like this ever before. So here I am, I'm on a bus, and I'm about to get off the bus and step into, it's kind of cool, and the air is really crisp and clear. I'm up in the tropics, but high in the mountains, and it's shady, and there are these big trees, and I step off, and suddenly I see this giant kiosco. It's, I think you can see the giant kiosco. It looks like a Nicaraguan pre-Columbian incensario. It actually was the gift of the dictator Somoza to Costa Rica in 1940. At any rate, I see this, and then I wander over, and I start to sit down on a bench, and I look around, and it's all men. Men everywhere. It's something I hadn't really thought about. What am I going to do? And I thought, well, just get to work. So I had my clipboard, and I had a sheet of paper, and what do? I start mapping. I start drawing where everyone is, and I start drawing what everybody is doing, and I start doing this, and suddenly 2 policemen come over to me, and they go, ¿Qué hace, señorita? And I said, well, I'm studying the Latin American Plaza. And they look at me and they go, like this. And he said, well, are you a journalist? I said, no, I'm not a journalist. He said, well, maybe a tax collector. I said, no, I'm not a tax collector. He said, so what are you doing? I said, I'm a student. And they said, oh, we understand. And they slowly walk away. Then the woman, I told you it's all men there, but actually there's a woman who is selling flowers. She's there every day, right next to me. And she goes, shh, shh, upe, upe, trying to get my attention. I said, what? She said, you can't sit there. I said, what do you mean? I just had sat down on this bench. She says, you can't sit there. I said, why can't I sit here? She said, that's Paco's bench. I said, okay, where's Paco? Paco comes at 11 a.m. I said, well, it's only 9 a.m. Can't I stay here till Paco? No, she said, that's Paco's bench. He comes every day. This is where Paco sits. You need to move. So I pick myself up, and I wander off, and I say to myself, I'm beginning to learn the culture of this place. You're not supposed to be a tax collector, nor a journalist, nor do you sit in anyone else's place, that everyone has their place. So I wander over to the shoeshine men. They're sitting on the northeast corner, and there are many of them, and they start to tell me their stories. They've been shoeshine men in this Parque Central for 40 years. Their parents, their fathers had been shoeshine men there. And they come every day. They shine mostly middle-class men's shoes who have botas, and they also play 3-card Monte. They also sell stolen watches. Sometimes they smoke a little marijuana. They have also been known, in fact, to sell a little marijuana. But they're the keepers of the plaza. And they said they know everyone because they've been there forever, and they're all over the place, and their clients know everyone. So they said, don't worry, we're going to help you learn what you need to know while you're here. So it's still early in the morning. I wandered down to the southwestern corner, and there are all the pensioners. There are a lot of older men reading the newspaper, talking to one another. And again, I asked, so what are you doing here? And they go, well, we used to work. Our wives don't want us in the house. They're used to having us out of the house all day long. So we come to the plaza and we sit here and we read and, we talk to one another and we decide about politics and we create a whole world here for ourselves. And we come every single day. So then I begin to learn that there's a rhythm to the day. At 11 a.m., there is an evangelical service that occurs under the arbor. It's all full of flowers over on one side of the park. At 12 noon, there's this tall guy. I call him the preacher. He wears this long blue robe, and he has this huge staff, very long hair, very Jesus-looking like, and he walks up to the corner, to the northwest corner, and he said, "Does anyone want to be saved?" And usually a whole group of people come around, and he'll say, "Raise your hand if you want to be saved." And there's always one person who reaches up, usually shrinks down, reaches up and says, "I want to be saved," and he is saved. And then as the afternoon moves along, mothers begin to come with their children, sometimes to sit, sometimes women who have been shopping come with their bundles, kids start getting off the bus for school and they meet their families, and the peanut vendors come out, and the smell, the wonderful, wonderful sweet smell of roasting peanuts pervades the space. And then as the sun begins to go down, young couples begin to come out and perambulate. The movie theaters are there and the cathedral, but they begin to walk around the plaza just like in the olden times in a retreta, which was a formal way of courting in the 1940s and 50s, but still has this vestige even in modern day. And the vendors who come are now selling sizzling meat. It smells good. It's beginning to get chilly, and it's a beautiful day. So I worked there from about 85, 86, and I certainly every year and kept studying the plaza until I think I started till 1996, and then left for an entire year, and I came back 1997. And suddenly, everything was different. During those full 6 years, the entire place had really been stable. I could predict who was going to be where, when, and at what time. But when I came back, everyone was gone. The municipality had decided that they were going to clean up the plaza. It wasn't nice enough for gringos, for tourists. It was too dirty. The people there were not the right kind of people. They weren't, anyway, it wasn't the symbol of Costa Rican culture, cultura, in both of the senses of the word, that the municipality wanted it to be. So they took out the trees. I didn't have time to tell you how attached everyone was to those trees. They used to cry when they cut down those trees. They took down the trees. They took out the small benches that I was talking about that I sat on where you could sit across from one another. They put in these big, long benches. At any rate, I think you can see the slide behind me. But more importantly, they changed the rules. They took all the shoeshine men out. They weren't allowed to work there anymore. In fact, they went on TV to fight. They said it wasn't right. They had a right to work. Not only were they not allowed to do that, you weren't allowed to smoke there, as you can see. You can well imagine this is Latin America. This is a long time ago. People were really smoking. The pensioners were all moved over to the post office. Not a nice space. Very cold, very dark. Anyway, not a nice place. I spent time with them there. You weren't allowed to do anything. No playing ball, no nothing. And they began to surveil it, a lot more police. And guess what happened? Any idea what happened? Crime. Who said crime? There you go. Okay, so a group of teenagers called chapulines start flowing through and get tourists start dabbling around, and these groups of teenagers, the first time and only time I was ever robbed in Costa Rica by a chapuline. They were teenagers, young men, go through. Organized crime began to set up shop right in the corner in the Cafe Soda, where it always was, and buy credit cards off the kids, if I'm making sense, and it was a completely different place. Sundays weren't any longer a time for people to play. And this is a plaza, the Parque Central, that had been there since 1757 with people going and enjoying it. And now it's barren, it's dangerous, and it's changed. It's a fragile ecology that got broken, and once broken, could not be fixed. Okay, one more short story by comparison. You all know Jones Beach, yeah? How many of you been to Jones Beach? Right, something a little more familiar, not San Jose, Costa Rica. And you know about Robert Moses. Everybody's been to the Shed to see the play, right? So, all right, I don't need to say anything more. Well, and you know that Robert Moses was supposedly made sure that all the bridges in the Southern Parkway were so low that the buses couldn't get through. Actually, it's a little more complicated than that. There's a little more data there, but let's not talk about that. But nonetheless, the idea was that Robert Moses really was trying to create a resort for the middle class. He designed something that he felt would compete with any large bathing resort anywhere in Europe, and he used Art Deco design, and he used motif like you would be on an ocean liner. That's what it was supposed to feel like. You know, that the staff actually wore uniforms like little ensigns, you know, and if you can see the handrails up there, they're round. They were originally round, and if you look very carefully at some of the architecture, which is all Art Deco, there were actually portholes, you know, round windows, so that the whole event was like going on a luxurious ocean liner. It was set up to attract both with elite taste, but also to attract the middle class and to bring them something really wonderful. And Jones Beach is 28 miles of wonderful. The irony is that nobody really expected, or certainly Moses didn't expect, that after World War II, of course, all kinds of people, some of the people that he really didn't imagine coming there, got cars and good jobs, and America expands. And today, Jones Beach, for me, is the best representation of real public space where everyone can be. And when I go and talk to people there, which we have, and I talk about a lot in the book, is they'll say things like, you know, we're all together here. And when it gets dark and the fireworks go, nobody cares what anyone else looks like. We're all together. We're all one. And it's wonderful. And then some young men from Southeast Asia said to me, they were playing in the wall. He said, you know, what I love about being here is it's black, brown, white, every kind of body, and we're here all together playing in the ocean, and finally, I feel like I belong, that this is America, that this is a place that I'm part of. And a Latina woman, Spanish-speaking woman, was talking to me, and she started telling me, you know, my parents used to bring me here because it was so important. It was so incredible to be part of America and to be part of a group and with everyone else. And it reminded us of Mexico in this case, and actually another woman from El Salvador was saying the same thing. And I bring my children so that they realize what richness we have. And if this were private, like all the rest of the beaches on Long Island, I wouldn't be able to be here. About 60% of the people at Jones Beach, the summer we worked there and counted, are from the city, and they're called city folks. But there are just as many Long Islanders there as well, because as many of you might know, where I live in Long Island, the beaches are private. You can't go. So it's a mix of everyone who appreciates public space and the freedom to be together. So the message here is that you can start with elite tastes. You can start with something that was meant for, I don't know, a white middle class. I mean, let's put it very bluntly, and that's what maybe Moses had in mind. But you can build a public space. You can create a space where everyone wants to be together. And how do you do it? You do it by bringing people together, by representing them, by recognizing that people are different, and yet when they're all together doing the kinds of things that we do together in public space, that we can for a moment feel included, belonging, part of something bigger than we are. And for this reason, and many, many more, including, shall I list, environmental sustainability, health and well-being, playgrounds for our children, places of work like in San Jose, cultural identity, think of all the incredible things we do in public space and how much it gives us. It creates a flourishing society. So that's why public space matters. It matters in all of those ways. And what I wanted to show you tonight is, on one hand, it's very fragile. It was easy to take apart Parque Central in San Jose, right? It was really easy. Just needed to clean it up a little bit and clear it out. On the other hand, the other story is to say, regardless of how something is built, if it is built with the intention of being a lead and whatever, you can take it back. And that's what we need to do. You can take it back. People will take it back. People will come together, and they will create the kind of belonging and society that I hope we all want to live in. Thank you very much.